Well, with just over a week to go before Christmas, Congress is facing yet another potential partial federal government shutdown. Lawmakers have until Friday night to come to an agreement to keep the government funded. It was just back in September when Congress averted a shutdown ahead of the election. You might remember that. Well, speaking on Capitol Hill yesterday, Senate Minority Leader Mitch McConnell stressed the importance of avoiding a shutdown.
Extending government funding by Friday is our top priority. Shutting the government down is a one-way ticket to needless disruption of important functions. It's never been a winning proposition, and this time is no different.
For the latest, let's bring in NBC News Capitol Hill correspondent Ali Vitali. Ali, good morning. So lawmakers are trying to pass this stopgap bill that would fund the government at least into the first few months of 2025. Where do things stand right now? What are the options on the table?
Stop me if you've heard this one before, Savannah, because I feel like we do this live shot with you every few months, and that's because we do. This is the way that lawmakers continuously kick the can down the road with government funding. Now, we do expect them to keep the lights on. There's not going to be some kind of holiday shutdown, but they are cutting it really close. That's because we expected to see the text of this continuing resolution, the bill that keeps the lights on, over the weekend, maybe late on Sunday night. Now, here we are on Tuesday morning. Lawmakers are starting to tap their foot, especially because on the House side, there's a 72-hour rule, meaning that there's 72 hours that members want to elapse between the time that they get the bill text and the time that they vote on it. That means that Thursday, even Friday, depending on when they release this text, is when the House does their vote, and then the Senate has to vote after. So it's a clunky process, and they're starting it a little bit late. At the same time, there's ways to circumvent that 72-hour rule. There's also ways to speed the process up, especially on the Senate side. Hope is far from lost, but they are cutting it really close. The Speaker said yesterday he expects bill text soon. That word soon is doing a lot of work here, but we do expect it imminently. I'll use another one.
Yeah. Walk us through the challenges, though, Ali, that lawmakers face while trying to avert a partial government shutdown, because, of course, we're kind of in this lame duck session of Congress. How do we move forward from here?
Yeah, you're in the lame duck Congress, but at the same time, people know that Republicans have the majority in the House. They know they're going to have the majority in the Senate, but they also know that the House majority is very, very thin. That's the one thing that's not going to be different from this Congress to the next one. And so even in passing this government funding bill, there are things that Democrats wanted to see in it because Johnson, the Speaker of the House, knows that he's going to need Democrats to pass this bill. The people that the Speaker often hears from on his side of the aisle are the House Freedom Caucus. They were upset, for example, about the fact that there was going to be too much emergency relief, too much disaster relief for places like North Carolina, Georgia, Florida, who had just gone through those two hurricanes just a few weeks ago. That was one of the sticking points. Another is the way that farmers are treated during this process, extending something called the Farm Bill. All of those are part and parcel to this process, but the people Johnson hears from the most are also the people that always vote against government funding resolutions. So he knows he's going to have to look across the aisle. Democrats are going to be key to passing this. I expect to see them vote, more than 100 of them, on this continuing resolution. Keeping the government open, keeping the lights on is usually just good politics. That doesn't always mean that everyone goes along with it, but this is usually a bipartisan vote. That's what we're going to expect to see here, because as much as there are the lame duck vibes, at the same time, everyone knows keeping the government open is just good to get us into the next year where everyone knows what's about to happen. Republicans controlling Congress and Republicans controlling the other side of Pennsylvania Avenue with President-elect Donald Trump.
So, Ali, remind us what happens if a deal is not agreed to before the Friday night deadline.
Look, we will then start seeing various parts of the government shut down. We will see the guidance issued from the Office of Management and Budget. Everyone always prepares for that, but it's always sort of a fire drill. The OMB alerts Congress, it alerts various agencies, whether or not parks are going to be shut down, other various things that we often cover in the event of a partial government shutdown. We don't expect it to get here again, but let's say it drags over into the weekend, or let's say they miss that Friday midnight deadline by just a few hours because of the way that it takes to vote for things. it's sort of baked into the process. A weekend government shutdown often doesn't really have much impact at all because it's sort of a fake government shutdown. It's the way that the government allows Congress a little bit of leeway time to tinker around the edges. So if they're a little bit late, if for some reason we see this drag into late Friday night or even Saturday, not a huge deal. Technically might be a government shutdown, but wouldn't actually be some kind of catastrophic or negative thing that's baked into the process. Again, we don't expect it's going to get there, but just in case.
All right, Ali, keep us updated. Thank you so much.
Thanks for watching. Stay updated about breaking news and top stories on the NBC News app or follow us on social media.